Imagine that, exactly. We've got the usual, there's a lot going on in the village, and as usual, it's reflected in our agenda. I think we're going to start with the AHRB public meeting agenda. We have 3 items. The first item is number 4 on our agenda. Because it's not handled under the planning board. 46 Bellwood Avenue, AHRB review for proposed construction of a freestanding wood deck and with stairs. Is there anyone here to respond? Thank you. Please, at the.
Hello, good evening. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm the owner, and also will be the builder, presumably. This is a. Can we bring it up, or is?
Don't ask me. Ask her.
It doesn't have to be. I wasn't sure if people wanted to see the plans, or I'm sure everyone has it.
I think we can look at them.
Otherwise,
That would be
we'll
great,
discuss. It's a fairly small project. It's approximately 20 feet wide, 16 feet long, or 16 feet wide, 20 feet long. Being proposed off the side rear of our existing house. It's freestanding. It's built off the side of a stone terrace that we have running along the, I can just zoom in here, running along the north side of our house.
Sorry. Thank you.
We can start with the elevations as well. Okay. Okay. Just scroll it up for some. Thank you. It's a little small. Maybe you could zoom in on the upper left corner. That's great. So that elevation is the west elevation of the house, or the rear of the house. You can see the deck off to the left, the north side. The elevation of the deck is approximately halfway between elevation of Bellwood, which is where you enter the house, and the rear yard, which is approximately a story below. So it's mid-level. Sort of, as you can see, sort of nestled just below the tree line there. And of course, it's about just lower than fence height from the west and the north. Would you mind to scroll over to the site plan? Right. The upper right. There you go. So you can see it's being proposed fully within the setback line. So we didn't feel we needed to apply for zoning variance. The deck itself is fairly simple. Clear cedar stain on the deck, painted white balustrades and railings.
Yeah. We just. Yeah.
And I guess with that, I'm open to answer any questions.
Any trees removed or anything, or any lighting?
Solar powered lighting on the stairs and
Sort of down light.
Yeah.
Now, you said the deck's going to be cedar, the deck of the deck is going to be cedar, and the railings are going to be white?
Correct.
And what color is the house?
The house currently is a sort of light yellow, so it needs repainting itself.
Okay.
With white trim.
I think it's, the only thing that bothers me a little bit is this is a very dense neighborhood. I love it actually, but it's very, very dense and very compact. Your neighbors are very close. And it would have been good to have a site plan that showed your building and the deck and the adjacent, where the footprints of the adjacent buildings are. But I guess we'll see, I mean, since this is all noticed, I guess we'll see if any of the neighbors feel that it's somehow too visible or too close, or needs to be screened in some way.
Actually, if you could scroll down.
There is an aerial.
There's a site-
There is?
If you could
Yeah,
zoom
on
into
the right
the aerial.
corner by the drawing number, on the right bottom.
Oh, yeah.
hold on.
area right there.
Let me see.
Our,
Let
you're
me
you're
see.
right, it is a pretty dense neighborhood. Our lot is interesting, however, because our lot and the one to the north actually are divided into two over 3 original lots. So we actually have about a lot and a half versus the typical lot in that neighborhood. So the one to the north has a pool, and then ours has this extra space, between our two properties that it's kind of nestles in. And we were sensitive to that, and that's why we wanted to sink it down a little bit.
I think it's probably okay. I just don't know what, well, I guess your neighbors. Yeah, I have it on my screen also.
And
Any-
so in this, the lot is, I mean, the deck is on this corner, I guess, or?
It's south of the pool. That's the pool is the next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay. I'm okay.
So you're going to basically look down into their pool if you're on your deck?
No, actually, because there's about a 9-foot fence between the two properties.
Oh, okay.
And their
We don't
pool
need
deck
a
is
public
actually
hearing.
raised off of the grade a couple of feet also.
No.
And there's a barrier of trees between the two.
Okay.
We were sensitive to that as a brainer.
Good.
We have a reso.
Good.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Nope.
I would move that we approve the request.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a resolution?
Yeah, I do have a resolution.
Yeah, that's really what we need.
So,
I'm not fast enough. Valerie.
no, I didn't. So basically, the resolution is just that this board is providing AHRB approval to the applicant at 46 Bellwood Avenue. Now therefore be resolved, the AHRB of Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the application for AHRB approval is granted. The approved plans are specifically site plans dated May 9th, 2023, including the A101 and A102.
No? Okay, so moved. Again? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, 99 Main Street, AHRB review for proposed exterior work, including facade change.
Anybody here?
I see nothing, hear nothing.
Anybody online?
I don't know.
Keep it for now. Isn't it,
I mean, it looks, I have to say,
Come back to it.
Yeah, no, we'll keep going.
looks good.
Next on our agenda is 35 Landing Drive, HRB review for proposed rebuild of existing deck.
Sure. Yes. It's good, man. What a relief.
nobody here either?
There's somebody there or no?
Yeah, we're gonna call that. We're coming up.
Going in order, just the AHRB applications.
I'm not here for 35 land. I'm here for, Hudson, but our letter, earlier, because our letter said here at 7:30. So I'm not sure if that.
Hello.
Yeah, hello?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
It's Ralph Rossi with Pratt and D'Angelo and Jim Hornstein from the Landing Homeowners Association.
This is 35 Landing Drive? Is that what we're looking at now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I see I was muted. I'm here as well. Jim Hoinstein.
So does anybody have any questions about this?
Is the new deck going to be exactly the same footprint as the existing deck?
Exactly the same.
The materials now.
Any new lighting?
No new lighting, same materials, same dimensions. The old deck was defective. So we were informed in December that we needed to rebuild it and went and got our plans, and we're here before you now.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Any comments or questions from the board?
Nope.
All right,
I have a resolution. So this property is at 35 Landing Drive. The AHRB of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasoning set forth below, the application for AHRB approval is granted, subject to the following conditions, and this specifically refers to the approved plans dated May 8th, 2023.
All right. I move that we adopt that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, we now move to Planning Board Public Hearing Agenda. Number 1 on our agenda is 0 North Mountain Drive, continuation of public hearing for proposed plans to construct a new home at a vacant lot.
I believe Patty will be joining us via Zoom. Okay, great. Good evening, Chairman Hunter, members of the Planning Board, Kristen Wilson. Along with me here is Cyrus, our structural engineer, in the event you have any engineering questions or rock removal questions. Joining us via Zoom, I forget what state he's in, is Patty Steinschneider. We're in the middle of a public hearing. We are in receipt of at least one email comment that the Planning Board received. I'm happy to answer those questions, but I would like to turn it over to Patty Steinschneider for a brief overview of what we've done since we were last here and where we would like to go.
Good, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yes. Yep.
That is good. And let's see if I can get this button. You. So that might have to be what you are going to see. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be letting me go to full screen.
It's okay, we can see it.
Yeah, good. So, I'll just some of the stuff you've seen before. In fact, most of it. This is the plan that we submitted back, I think in September. September 2022. This went to the ZBA. We had information on it at that time regarding the coverages. This shows that we had a coverage for the building of 17.95%, and site impervious coverage of 33.27%. There were concerns about that. We ended up going to the zoning board, and we've got the resolutions from the zoning board, both for the approval of this as a building lot, which gave us a variance because of the steep slope deduction. We would otherwise have not had adequate site area, and an interpretation that confirms that the calculation for building coverage at this point is on the gross lot area, not the net. If there's no disagreement that the ZBA has done this, I can skip a whole bunch of slides. Okay, it sounds like an answer.
We read their resolutions.
Just to clarify, Patty, just to clarify, the zoning resolution didn't say specifically that gross lot area has to be used. In this case, it will be, but that's not.
Yeah, I think that's what I actually said, though. I said at this point, that's what we're going to use for this. Obviously, there's still issues to be resolved with the village of what they want to do in the future. So after the issue of whether the building coverage is based on the lot area, gross lot area and net lot area was raised, at least 2 members of the planning board expressed a concern that the house we proposed was just too big. And the question I have is, what does too big mean? I know that sounds like I'm being silly, but I'm really not. If we're trying to understand this, we have to have some criteria of what would make it too big. And I'm doing a comparison of what that really means. You know, typical American male, just the right size, but not if he's going to win the Kentucky Derby or play defensive end in the NFL. Size is meaningless if not in context. And in the world of development, there are two circles in the Venn diagram of size determination that provide that context: site engineering and the character of the existing neighborhood. Regarding the site engineering, we understand this is an area of steep slopes. We've had a lot of discussions about that. We understand it's a complex lot with lots of rock. So we designed a site plan that we felt worked well given the conditions of the existing lot. And we hired Hudson Engineering to do an extensive stormwater management plan, you know, exceeding what the actual requirements would be. So instead of limiting ourselves to the delta of what we were increasing impervious, which of course with this having a lot of rock, it would have reduced significantly what we had to put on the site. Hudson designed it so that it would hold all of the water, and they covered that in their stormwater management plan and drainage analysis, which was submitted and reviewed by the village's engineer, as well as by the engineer for the group of neighbors who were concerned about this application. We also did a lot of analysis of rock removal, site stability, the erosion sediment control plan that would be necessary during construction to make sure that we wouldn't have any impacts. On this drawing, you note that little kind of pond in that corner there. That was originally intended as a temporary feature that would have, you know, we would have during construction. We will have it during construction, but as we showed at previous meetings, we're also doing a little, you know, a little ravine in here, you know, where we can pick up the water all across the width of the lot and prevent any water that comes off the site from reaching the street and be managed. We do have, you know, we have a trench drain, other things to pick it up, but that little gully along the street is actually just to make sure that there's no water that goes over the road. That leaves us the character of the existing neighborhood. You've seen this drawing before. This shows the house that we proposed in context with that neighborhood. We did an analysis of the neighborhood. We showed, I think all of the houses actually in the neighborhood, what their coverages were and how they sit on their property, and then did a comparison with the house that we were proposing. In the report that we did, we showed how this fits in the 7 lots that are in the context limit. We basically have 3 that are smaller and 3 that are bigger. So our contention is that we fit in nicely with this character of this particular neighborhood. Again, that whole idea that it's contextual. Often in Dobbs Ferry, when we're looking at neighborhoods, we're looking at a neighborhood like this. Now, this scale is 1 inch equals 71 feet. And you see, you know, how dense it is. Here, again, is the parcel we're dealing, and this is 1 inch equals 142 feet. So it's actually, you know, it's the other one is a close-up, if you will. This is showing that there's actually a lot of space around these properties. We're not impinging on anyone, overlooking one. There's no sunlight we're blocking from anyone's house. So those kinds of concerns that could contribute to the concern of too big, I think, don't show up here. But what does show up here is there's a real character of the kinds of houses in this neighborhood. This is not a neighborhood of small houses. This is a neighborhood of big houses, and lots of them that are quite charming. In fact, I think until a couple of houses may have been built maybe 30, 40 years ago, I'd say every house in this neighborhood was, you know, high style, carefully designed English images, French images, a type of massing that I think is incredibly handsome and something that Dobbs Ferry can be proud of. So our design approach was to pick up that type of house, that scale of house, that size of house, and do a house on this parcel that fit with that and was contextually responsive. And in a minute, I'll be to our drawing. So we showed you these renderings showing how the house sits on the lot. I'll show the street views at the end of this. But as you see the house, it breaks itself down in massing. It uses many of the same techniques as the other houses in the neighborhood have. It's a all brick on the front with a couple of little variation on these towers. So this is all a brick facade that is covered with a lime wash, so that it is white, but not using a white brick, which I think would be kind of unfortunate. The landscaping is has carefully been designed to work with the street and screen the house, with at the same time not blocking the south light from reaching the house. Here's on the kind of the back north side and the north I guess east corner of the house on the back. And then this is the back looking down from the top of the hill. And this is the south end of the house with the 3-car garage. In many neighborhoods in town, 3-car garage would be excessive. It's pretty much the standard of this neighborhood. So this is the view of the house as you would, if you were driving up the hill, how you'd be seeing the house set back, the stone wall in the front. You'd have it actually sets back further than the houses that are across the street. We feel that it sits nicely on the site. We prepared what we believe is a complete set of drawings for any review. It goes into great detail. I haven't included all of them here. I think there's a total of 20 sheets in the full set that was submitted to you. But I'm just showing the elevations at this point, because of course this is both planning board and architectural review board. And we submitted not only the elevations, I think with a complete sense of detailing in the drawings themselves, but we actually went far enough into this that we prepared the actual details for the construction, the trim, the roof. We're doing some fun things with the brick that, fit the character again of the neighborhood, that it has a high level of detail. And then this is the sheet that we provided that shows the materials that we're using, the colors. It's basically gray and white with the exception of some wood that we're going to introduce on that one porch area, which I think would be kind of fun. And this sheet, which is the last, I think, you had asked us to show you, if you were driving or walking perhaps down the street, what it would look like from the street. So upper right-hand corner is your to the south of the house, and the next one down is as you get closer. This is as you're going by. This one in the lower left hand is looking at the front of the house. This is a little bit further down on that, and then the final is looking at the house from the north, downslope on the street, and again how the house sets back and is landscaped and sits nicely in the terrain and the character of the lot. And I think that is everything I have to show you, unless you have questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. I'd like to move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Anybody speak on this? Online? No?
No. I mean, I think we have seen this. I hope all of the members of the board, I'm sure, have driven this area and know this area. And I personally think it's time to move forward.
The council, this is with the variances, this is 100% compliant?
It is compliant, yeah.
Okay. My only comment is an architectural one, that I think the entranceway, the columns and the roof, the proportions seem a little wrong, but that's my only comment.
Other board members?
Yeah, so you got a large variance to make this a buildable lot, and with using gross area lot coverage for the house, you're really pushing the massing of the building to the absolute maximum. And so that's concerning. And when I look at your PowerPoint presentation, this building is the largest building on a similar lot size on that street. So how do we get a better feel for what the massing looks like? Sky exposure plane is one of those things. I have not. Do you have a sky exposure plane drawing?
Yes, that was submitted in our set.
Okay,
Where's,
I have not seen
I
that.
haven't seen it either.
We don't have it.
I can't, in the scale I've got this on a laptop, I can't really read those sheets. Let me see if I go back to here.
Which month was that? Was that,
Well, no, when we were submitting the sets, we were including it in all the months. The only time I haven't, we didn't resubmit any drawings after we went to the zoning board and they granted the first variance, because we didn't make any changes after that. But I'm trying to read in very little. One of the sheets on this sheet, Cyrus, can you read it from there? Should be one of the elevation sheets.
South and west elevations are A 3.1, north and east elevations are 3.2.
And then what's the sheet after that?
Those are just exterior details.
What sheet number, I mean, because I'm looking at what's posted on the, I don't, I mean, for the board, because the board
have to
was
go-
asking what, maybe there's,
You know, one of the sheets is, thank you.
Can we get to that?
Patty, can you scroll to
That's
that?
on page 10 of 18 of the set.
Right, but what I've got here isn't that. I'm wondering if I have,
Yeah, I don't see any sky exposure information on that drawing.
what number was it?
A 3.1,
No, SP.
SP 3.1.
let's see.
This is from March.
so there's one that says, from January, and it says, it has stamped on there, not for construction.
Yeah.
And it has the sky exposure. And it says proposed elevations.
Which set is in?
Uh,
March 23.
Can you see this that I put up?
okay.
Is that, can you see that sheet?
Yeah. Can you zoom into it a little bit?
Yeah, I think I can actually. Yeah. So this is looking at the north side of the house. This is looking at the south side of the house. This is, you know, obviously this is at the corner here. It's not hitting any of those roofs. This is the, you know, from the side yard. We're obviously quite far away. And here's from the other side yard. We didn't bother to do from the back because the, you know, the base of the sky exposure plane is higher than the you know, it doesn't come anywhere near the house.
How high is that wall in the back, Patty?
It's at 284. It's about 8 feet, 9 feet. And that's not where the property line is. The property line's enough, you know, as far from that wall to the front property line, from there to the back property line.
Has the building department had a chance to review the sky exposure plane calculations?
And we don't know where he's taking it from.
Sure you do. It's on the property line to show where the average grade at the plane of base of the house between the primary lot, the property line and the house as the code calls for it. We set the 45-degree angle at that point, and the red line shows you where, you know, how that projects relative to the house. PL here is indicating that's on the property line at the front plane of the
Scroll to the south elevation.
Yeah.
Cutting through.
the way this is done is it lines up with the end of the house. So we did both sides of the house, both ends of the house showing the sky exposure plane. Sometimes people just do one. I think the way it was originally intended to be is to have it where you'd see it at both ends, because obviously we're in a sloping area. It could be very different at one end than the other, so we showed both.
Is the house still staked on that property, Patty?
Is it what?
Is the house, didn't at one time you go and put stakes down where the house would be?
Right. We haven't made any changes to that. You guys went and took a look at it. What we staked wasn't actually the house. It was, if you will, the box of the house. So it was a bigger footprint than what the house itself actually is, because we didn't get involved with all the, ins and outs on it. So, I worried that would make it like we were trying to make the house look smaller. So I just showed you the entire box.
And is that still there?
I haven't been to the site in a while. I think we drove in, the kinds of metal stakes that you put up like not quite permanent, but pretty permanent fence. So I wouldn't be surprised they're still there. We put, emergency, that yellow tape on it so you could see the box, but I'm sure that's gone.
So I'm uncomfortable with the massing without verifying the sky exposure plane calculations. And I really think, considering the aggressiveness of the massing in the design, that the design should conform with the sky exposure plane.
Yeah, agreed.
I think,
What, on that one side?
Yep.
I'm just uncomfortable because on anything right now, just because I didn't realize that this was the house that was gonna be proposed. I always just thought it was, because it's not for
Placeholder.
construction. Yeah, I just thought it was a sample of, kind of an idea of what could be there. I didn't realize that this is the actual building that was gonna be constructed. So, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, and I think I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of the drawings and go back to the site and really understand what is being proposed, and I apologize for that, but I can't comment on it anymore until I do that.
Can the building department review this before the next meeting?
Yeah, definitely.
And you have all the drawings?
We should.
All the drawings were submitted, yes. There should be no
It
question.
should have been with tonight's drawings.
Right, there was nothing submitted new for this meeting.
Right, because there have been no changes to the complete set that was last submitted to you, but we can submit a full set. We can probably do that tomorrow if you'd like.
I call for a public hearing.
The public hearing was open and nobody had anything to say, so we could
And these
close it.
drawings, Patty, are these drawings still not for construction, or are they for construction?
Well, no, the only drawings that would be for construction
Pick
are
up
the
somebody
drawings
on
that would
one.
actually be,
She checked, there was.
that would be done for the building permit. We put that on. Cyrus can probably address this better than I, because I can't see anybody. But when we put not for construction on it, that's to make it clear that no builder should be taking these drawings and trying to build this house. There are structural details, there are framing plans, there are a lot of things, most of the work, in fact, that Cyrus will end up, doing on this project. It doesn't make any sense for us to have done that, since it doesn't affect the appearance of the house, size of the house, or have any impact on that. But it's very time consuming, and if there was going to be a change, we wouldn't want to have done all that work and then have a change.
Got it.
Yeah, just like, these are only schematic drawings, just to show what the architectural intent is. Once-
They're actually, they're design development drawings. That's a little, that's the next phase past schematics.
There's no construction detailing there that you could bring these plans to a contractor and say, yes, build this. It's just for the schematics and what it looks like and where it's placed and the site development. There's no engineering other than the site development that was done by Hudson Engineering for the stormwater and.
Right.
And I would like to say one thing before the public hearing is closed. There's been some inquiries about my involvement on this project. I'm at 27 Main Street, Dobbs Ferry, New York, and whoever would like to discuss, our business and practices, I'd be more than welcome to, schedule a meeting and discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I would just say that I feel like the board, I think that this project is the way it is now, regardless of how I personally feel about it, because the applicant has figured out a way to exploit something that's ambiguous in our code. And I feel like that's unfortunate. I feel like it's clearly the sentiment, whether we have the legal right to deny the project or not, or the planning board does. It's clearly the sentiment of the zoning board and at least 3 of the 5 members of the planning board that the house is too big. So I guess I'm wondering, since we tried to show flexibility around allowing for this lot to be buildable, even though it is smaller with the deductions than it is supposed to be, I'm wondering if the applicant is interested in coming back with a project that is somewhat smaller, even if we can't insist on it.
I guess what we're struggling with is, and again, I think in terms of the public comments from neighbors, we've addressed those satisfactorily. If not, happy to answer them. But in terms of the comments of it being too big, it complies with the height, so it doesn't seem that it's too tall. No one's saying it's too wide or too deep. No one's saying it's too long. It complies with the setbacks, the side yard setbacks, the front yard, the rear yard. It complies with all of the coverages. You don't have FAR here. Maybe but for some confirmation that the sky exposure plane calculations are accurate. We're struggling with understanding what it is, especially in that it's been proven engineering-wise that it works, actually improves the stormwater issues in the area. And in terms of context, I don't know what other information we can provide. We've shown pictures of the homes, we've shown the area.
Yes.
So if it's right in the middle.
I think you misunderstand me. I'm not interested in getting into a legal argument with you about whether the project has it right. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about whether or not it's somehow the obligation, or it's felt to be the obligation on the part of whoever's developing the project, to build it out to the absolute max, even if they have the right to, whether or not they feel it's in the spirit of their participation in this community on this project and on other projects, to feel like it needs to be maxed out based on something that is at best something that was ambiguous in the code, right? Not something that is clearly was one way or the other, right? In terms of the coverage thing, which would have reduced the overall scale of the house. So what I'm talking about is not like what you can legally do here. I'm talking about what a good neighbor developer, what their approach might be in this process.
So
There is a client that is looking to build this house. This isn't spec. This isn't, this isn't something I'm proposing because I want this house. If this was a house that was for me, I would make changes.
Well, let me ask you, Patty, have you ever gone back to a client and said, it's true, we meet the letter of the law, but as a, somebody who lives in Dobbs Ferry and participates in this process, I think we should reduce it in scale. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I've done that quite a bit, which I think you're
Well,
aware of.
Well, here's a chance to do it. You have clear anxiety on the part of the boards about the scale of the house.
Not the whole board.
Not the whole board.
Yeah, I think
I would say probably 3 out of the 5 members of this board, and certainly a huge amount of anxiety from the zoning board. So I'm not saying you can't build it. That's not like my argument.
I understand, but Rob, you're making statements and I'm not sure what you're basing on. When you say high anxiety on the zoning board, that wasn't the feeling I got from the zoning board, nor is it consistent with what they said. If you watch the video, they described it as being a beautiful house that improves the neighborhood.
We had the chair bounce this project back to us 3 times for different things that related to his anxiety about whether it was buildable, not just technically, but whether, given its size after the deductions, it was buildable. So, and I suspect that at least 3 of the 5 members of this board would probably say it's too big, that we can do a straw poll. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not making a legal argument here. I'm making a kind of, all codes, if everything, no matter how much code we write, no matter how many holes you or other applicants find that we try to plug, in the end, the system only works if everybody is kind of like participating in a way that they try to want to make it work, right? There's no amount of code that's going to be airtight around these things.
But I think some of the, I guess, putting aside the legal arguments, again, zoning board acted how they did, but we have letters of support from the neighbors. I mean, the people that are most directly impacted, and I don't know where any of you live, but they've come out in support. They've raised questions perhaps about stormwater and concerns about that. We're actually improving that, so I would submit, want that. But in the neighborhood and those directly impacted, if neighbors were here, and I've gone back to clients before and said, hey, we got to work this out, you're going to be neighbors, and the house needed to be shifted or tucked and nipped in different areas because of impacts to the people directly there, I understand that. It's like a negotiation back and forth. It's not what's written in the code. It's what works for the neighborhood. We have the opposite here. We have people saying, we like this, it will increase the value of the neighborhood. There are no objections.
One of the neighbors actually responded to the planning board's comments about it being too big. It's basically saying this is not the place to try and make a smaller house. He made the case that the value of his house will be affected by the value of this house, and that this house as designed is one that he does not have a problem with. Cutting it, and I think he referred to it being to something as small as a 3,500 square foot house, which I think I would agree with you, Rob, is not a small house at all. But he referred to that being something that would adversely affect his property value. So I think that's very real. And I know that, when the house is built near you, it usually affects you, most often increasing the value of your home if it's a house that's consistent with the character of the neighborhood, which this is. This house, if you drove by and you didn't know where the property lines are, I don't think anybody would look at this and say, oh my God, look at that huge house they left built in this neighborhood.
Okay.
But we do have a letter from Jeff Reich, who lives on Osceola, complaining about the size of the project.
Well, he's not complaining about the size of the house. He's complaining about the fact that a house would be allowed to be built on this property, and his primary concern identified is with the drainage. Right now, there's a significant amount of drainage that comes off this site and flows on other people's properties. we're capturing that and containing it. That water will no longer risk flooding those neighborhoods. We understand that there's an issue on the street itself, not affected by us. Although I think Anthony, he made a good point that if something happened with our trench drain across the driveway, then water could come off there and it could go down that section that doesn't have a curb. And we agreed that if the village wanted us to do so, we would build that curb. Now, somebody also pointed out the last meeting that if we build that curb and we are successful in controlling the water that currently flows on those neighbors' property, is that going to come downstream and affect someone else? But, other than having the village tell us what it would like us to do with that, I don't think that's something that it's not our water that we would be, affecting.
Patty, I think we've been through the water. I
Okay,
think we all
good.
agree
Well, that
you've
was-
done a good job in that regard. This letter also discusses the size of the project on the small lot, so there is some concern in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Anyway.
Where do we go from here?
I'm satisfied with the application as it's presented.
Close the public hearing? And nobody else?
I guess
Anybody online?
the only issue was whether or not Dan wanted to review the sky exposure plane calculations.
Okay. No, all right. We can close the public hearing? All in favor?
You leave it open?
If we're waiting for next month,
Okay.
I would leave it open.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But right now, we're just adjourning it so that the building department can look at the sky exposure.
All right.
Could I throw an idea out there? No?
Right.
Doesn't hurt to ask, but is it, and I don't know where the board members stand right now, but would it be possible, I mean, we can resubmit the sky exposure plane plans if you don't have them readily available, but is it possible to consider closing the public hearing and taking a vote on the plan, subject to confirmation from the building department that what Patty has submitted is accurate? If that's the outstanding issue, whether the calculations on the plans are correct.
But we don't actually have a resolution, do we?
No, we do not have a resolution. I didn't know.
We could have one for next month.
Would you like me to prepare a resolution of approval?
Well, I'm a nay, so.
I mean, I can prepare both resolutions.
I don't know. I'd like to move forward.
Yeah, we should move on this.
The next step would be getting a resolution.
This is fine.
Yeah.
Once they're satisfied,
Yeah.
at that point, closing the hearing and adopting the resolution, or getting comment from the board on the resolution.
So we should prepare a resolution for next month.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So we're gonna,
Adjourn
We're going to continue.
yeah.
adjourn to the July.
Continue the public hearing? and
Continue
adjourn.
the public hearing till next month.
Okay,
July 6th. Thank you.
Good,
July 6th.
good.
July 6th, that's
July 6th?
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next item on our agenda, item number 2, Bramley Lane, continuation of public hearing for proposed replacement of railroad tie retaining wall with modular brick retaining wall system. Here we go.
Good evening, Chairman Hunter.
Good evening.
Town board members. We continue to make progress on the outstanding comments that we got from Mr. Oliveri, 5 comments. 3 of them have been satisfied. We still have 2 open items. One of them is the site plan. And Anthony, thank you for talking to the contractor. Chuck understands now exactly what it is that you require. I apologize, he's been ill and should have it to us within the next 10 days to address all your concerns. So that should close, hopefully, that item out. The next item is the access agreement with the contiguous neighbors. I had sent a couple of MOAs, access agreements to the neighbors, weren't particularly well received, so I thought it best to have my attorney, Mr. Brad Schwartz, draft up an MOA, which I received today, and I sent it to Mr. Lee. The other one for number 12 should be coming shortly. That is the next MOA that should address all his concerns in the indemnification clause. In addition, there are two large oak trees that are close to the wall. One of them, I had two arborists look at, the one that's very close to number 12 and cascades over it, that is at high risk of collapsing, and I will, at my own cost, pay for that, because that tree has to be removed irrespective of the wall replacement. So you do have the MOA for me to review with your attorney, Mr. Drashkin, so desired, and get back to us. My wife Nancy and I are very much interested in breaking ground on this project and putting this behind us and getting a good night's sleep. My concern is, as a licensed engineer, I look at this railroad tie retaining wall, it's decayed. I don't know when one particular section will go, so I think it is important from a life safety standpoint that we move out with this forthwith. I know the owner may have concerns. Again, that's why we provided this MOA with an indemnification for any and all concerns you may have, and you can respond to it. With that, I thank the board and for your cooperation.
Good.
And again, I hope to have the other MOA within another early next week to number 12.
This is a continuation of a public hearing. I move we open the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this? Thank you.
Am I allowed to do handouts?
Sure. Why not?
We can look at, we can also share.
Yeah, thank you.
When do you give one to? Yes, I did. You and I can share. Okay. Sure.
All right, board members, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is John Lee. I'm a longtime resident of Dobbs Ferry. My family moved here in 1972. I graduated high school here. In 1998, I moved back to Dobbs Ferry, and both my kids also went through the school system and graduated.
We have plenty for everyone.
I'm here because I have some concerns regarding 7 Brindley's Lane's solution to the wall. I really think it is an inappropriate and an intrusive solution to what they want to do. Their own engineers have stated in their requirements documents that the owner is responsible for obtaining a geotechnical investigation along the retaining wall following NCMA recommendations. The owner or the owner's representative has not provided soil parameters for the proposed earth structure. Testing the proposed soil has not been performed prior to the design. So that's a requirement that their engineers stated on the design that they have not done. Okay.
Are we talking design or function?
They're talking about whether the soil is appropriate for ready wall. Okay. Ready rock, it's called. Ready rock is a solution, it's a good solution. It is a solution for large-scale apartment buildings, highways, barrier walls. That's what it's primarily used for. We have done our due diligence in researching this wall. I'm retired. I got plenty of time on my hands. We went to visit a couple of sites that use ready wall. We drove to Beacon, New York to visit the factory where it's manufactured. Ready wall is a great modular system. It's almost like Legos. Put in place and it snaps into place. The only caveat is each modular weighs more than a ton, 1 ton, okay? And their design proposes 189 blocks to replace this retaining wall. You do the math, the talking about 500,000 pounds that's going to be sitting on my property. They are going to have to dig a trench that is 8 feet deep, 6 feet down under. If you look at the pictures that I sent over, my property is only 30 feet from the wall. And in order to get a backhoe back there, they have to remove 2 maple trees. These are the only trees in my backyard. They are the only 2 trees in my backyard. Okay, so and ready wall is concrete. It's concrete. If they put some color on it to make it look like a rock, but it's not. You can tell it's concrete. And we think it's ugly. And it's not in line with Dobbs Ferry's guidelines in terms of what kind of a wall, public-facing wall should be. You guys recommend stone, wood, or metal. This is concrete. I will be looking at this for the rest of my life, concrete wall. Now granted, the wall that's there, not pretty either, but at least it looks a little bit better than concrete. The installation process is rather odious. I think what convinced me to go against this is when I Googled ready wall and it took me to YouTube and I watched what the backhoe did to people's properties. It bothered me. And they also had to remove 10 steel columns that's holding the wall back. Okay? And my concern is, once they start removing these, what is to prevent their swimming pool from coming down onto my property? What assurances do I have that what's left there is going to hold and be stable? And aside from removing 2 maple trees, they also had to deal with rocks that they haven't considered. And what are they going to do? Dynamite it? We also hired our own engineer to look at the wall. And she says the wall is working. There is no structural damage that she could see. No one yet from Dobbs Ferry or from Westchester County has told us this wall needs to be replaced. Nobody has looked at it. I know Tony has been losing sleep over it, but I don't see any issues with the wall as it exists right now. And I want to acknowledge that it is his property. He has a right to replace it. But I have a right to say, I think the method that he chose is very intrusive. It's going to dig up my property. I use it, I use my backyard 3 times a day. I'm there 7:30, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I have a cat that's outdoors using that property. It's not like this property is left unused. Plus, we also have water issues in our basement, like many of the homes. And I can't imagine when you're digging 8 feet deep in my backyard, what that's going to do to the water pressure that's coming in. So, bottom line, the wall is ugly. We don't like it. I think there are better choices that they can make to the wall.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to let you know that no new information has been submitted on this application this month. So I think right now, one of the things that are outstanding is an agreement between the 2 neighbors in terms of encroachment of property during the construction.
I have a question.
Can you speak on, please?
Sorry.
Identify yourself.
I'm just curious, what have they submitted on the calculation is false because according to their calculation, it says based on sand. We all live in Dobbs area. I don't understand where sand comes from. And the soil there is rock and clay, okay? So if you do the boring, which is geotechnic, according to their contract document, they're supposed to do, and they haven't done it yet. So whatever they submitted, I think the board should look at carefully because the structural engineer wrote a very detailed letter as last submission that all these criteria was not met. And their calculations only depend on sand. So I would read that very carefully, and then also they didn't even calculate the ash pool into their calculation of the overturn for the retaining wall. So I just don't want to have a disaster in our hand. I'm proactive. I'm myself an architect. I would like to see things done correctly, but I don't want to have a disaster in both our property or our neighbor's property. And we have water issue because we think there's an underground stream. The last storm that was here a couple of weeks ago, it took us 8 days to drain out all the water onto the sidewalk. 8 days. And that's just the impact because we have clay on our property. And the existing structure, if you see it in the drawings, the photographs, is 8 columns. Those columns are piled down to the rock. They're exposed to 12 feet, they're down 24 feet in ratio. That's the typical calculation of any kind of retaining wall for overturning. So whoever designed that property had done their diligence. And they investigated the site, they know it's clay, they know it's rock, so they really pound in those columns in. And I hired a structural architect to verify this, and she verified it. She even talked to a geoengineer, know the area, saying, you have clay in this area and you have rock. And that was the correct solution for this. So I implore you, the planning board, please review and ask for geotech. Because if the geotech's not there and he come and cut off the column, we're gonna have a standstill. And I do not want to have a contractor, and I have a flood. I have 3 neighbors and we have children in that. We're the only area has flat area that children play in that area. So I'm really just concerned that it's, we're holding the pool back. And to me, the best solution, leave the wall be, and they could do what they can in back of it, so we don't have a disaster in our city.
Maybe.
And one more item, the modular system they're putting on, I asked the manufacturer, I called the manufacturer, and they would deliver, they had to deliver 1 or 2, and
Well, actually,
and the fact they had to be inspected every 6 months.
what's he agreeing to?
The inspection every 6 months, if there's a crack, they had to tear the whole wall down and rebuild it again. This is not a
Build it from your
solution.
side of the
Can I just make a couple of comments?
My neighbor is here, David, and he lives next to us. We have also a water issue, so he would like to
Okay.
say something.
maybe.
First of all,
Mr. Chairman,
wait, no, let's, before we do that.
can I make a couple of comments?
Yeah.
In fact, the geotech and the shoring of the pool is noted on the plans, as is typical with many retaining walls that come in front of the planning board. The full engineering is a requirement before building permit is issued. There are cases where you may say, well, we'll do some geotechnical ahead to make sure, that we think this could work. There's one application that's in front of you now that I think we've asked for that. But it is thought of in that way, that it'll be submitted before building permit. But what I'm not really understanding is to build this wall, they need 7 Bramley, the owner there, needs access on the Lee's property. So if the Lees are not comfortable with the wall or the type of wall, that's fully within their purview to negotiate with the other property owner.
Yeah.
It's not, this board is not here to tell you which type of wall or which one. If you don't like the look of it, if you don't like the construction, if you don't like the staging that's gonna happen, that's up to you guys to negotiate with your neighbor and come to an agreement. you know, you could engineer any kind of wall that'll work there. But, you know, whether it's appropriate or not is really up to you. In other words, you guys are holding all the cards here. He can't build a wall without your permission to access the property. This board is not going to force you to allow him to access your property and use your property. So I'm not sure if there's some misunderstanding here, but, so that it's up to you guys to come to an agreement amongst yourselves, two property owners, what type of wall is going to work best. If you hire an engineer, if she feels, I read her review, it was very thorough. If she feels the existing wall is in good shape or could be reused in some way, then maybe she needs to sit down with your neighbor, he's an engineer, and come up with some other solution. But it's really not this isn't the forum to debate that, I don't think.
Right, and I think it might be best if this board considers, just when you adjourn the application, that you adjourn to a date uncertain, and then when the applicant has, you know, finalized things with the neighbor, then we can renotice the application.
Good. Should we vote on that, or?
Good.
No,
Yes, it's a
you're,
public hearing.
No.
that's going to become
I'm sorry.
a debate back and forth.
But the bottom line is
I'm the neighbor diagonally across from 7 Bramley Lane, where the 4 Beechwood Court. My name is David Liptak. And actually, I was never consulted or, you know, about the project, because the machinery would have to arrive to our property. So half of ours, half of the lease. So I would like to get details of machinery and so on. Because as Mr. Lee mentioned, there's a problem with the water filtration. I know the clay is like 8 feet down, and that's, you know, it's a fact. So I would also like to know, I will get detail of how the stormwater will drain away from the footing of the new wall. Because every time it rains, water it takes about 8 days to disappear from the property.
Right, but again, none of these are issues for this board to consider yet unless there's an agreement between the parties. This board can't approve a wall that's only accessible by your neighbor's property. So you guys are going to have to work that out. The suggestion from Ms. Monastro was to adjourn this without a date certain, so that when you're ready, you can come back and we could put you, you know, assuming that you work out an agreement, put you back on the agenda.
Yeah, I think you had a good suggestion to have your engineer, Mr. Lee, Mr. and Mrs. Lee, talk to the neighbor and his engineer if necessary.
No.
We got to stop this, because you guys have to agree. We can't decide for you.
Let me understand this, then I'll have, bad folks with strong needs or
Again, you're talking about things that you have to do with your neighbor. It has nothing, you have an attorney, you'll have to speak to him then. You mentioned Brad Schwartz?
If your plan only involved your property, then it all hinges on them giving you access. So you need to satisfy their concerns. But this board can't impose that on them.
frankly, you want to be good neighbors, you want to avoid disaster. I'd rather not litigate and go forward, use RAPL 81 that would, give us this property, because, the damage that I would have to my house and to my pool, for my side, would be very significant, yes, because it's going to go on.
You must.
Sir, with due respect, again, first of all, you can't shout out from the audience, but also, we can't discuss this. I don't think the board can discuss this anymore.
No, we have to come to this up.
I mean, the suggestion was to adjourn this to a date.
Uncertain.
Date uncertain.
In the future.
One simple question, can the wall as they want actually put back the same way? Would you accept that wall? Would you accept?
You would have to.
You know
ask the
what,
board.
you're asking hypothetical questions with no plans.
Yeah.
It's not this board's, role to do that, nor the building department.
Good. All right.
I mean, I'm not trying to, the only one thing I think it would be in everyone's interest would be, right, there's all these access issues and appearance issues. There are also some set of technical issues. If there was some way that an impartial, so that it wasn't your engineer versus their engineer, if there was someone who could offer and everyone would agree ahead of time that they were going to live by the technical findings of this independent engineer, because it seems to me that's a fundamental threshold thing here as to whether or not the existing wall is sound or not. So I'm just offering that as a suggestion that you find someone who can, if both people agree, is an independent arbitrator on these technical issues and will, isn't answering to one owner or the other, and that both parties agree that they're going to live with the findings of that engineer. But.
Okay, all right. Well, I
It's
move
just a suggestion.
we continue the public hearing in our next meeting?
No, we're going to adjourn.
We adjourn it.
Till some future time.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll adjourn it.
At some point in the future.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, well, there was a
I
motion.
second the.
Okay, all in
adjourn at
favor?
some point in the future.
Okay,
Aye.
okay.
Everybody voted?
Yeah, everybody voted.
Just for the record, may I also ask you to vote again on the adjournment of 0 North Mountain? I was advised that we didn't take a vote to adjourn it to the July meeting.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, I think you
All right.
I did.
Gotta say, actually
I
sounded
move
great.
that we adjourn.
Right, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
in favor. All right, number 4.
Virgie.
0 Lafergie Avenue, public hearing for proposed plans to construct a new 2.5-story residence. 0 Lafergie Avenue. Ah, somebody stood up, good.
That has to be adjourned.
You know, skip,
Yeah, 11 Fairlawn.
skipped 11 Fairlawn?
Yeah, but that was adjourned?
That's just gonna be adjourned.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I meant like, did we adjourn it though?
No, do we have,
All right.
we have to re-adjourn?
Right.
All right.
Fair.
We have to adjourn July 6th.
So I make the motion, we adjourn 11 Fair Lane until
Okay.
the next, Fair Lawn until the next meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. All right.
Good evening. I should be joined by our engineer and our architect who's joining via Zoom. So until they join, I can just kind of give a quick summary on where we are. My name is Pratik Anand. My wife and I, we bought the lot at 0 feet. We're very, very excited to move into Dobbsbury with our 2 children, and we're hoping to build a 2.5-story home on that proposed lot that we have. In our final submission that we presented a couple of weeks ago, there was a memo that came back from the engineering department as well as the, I believe, landscape. We have spoken to our engineer as well as Yost Designs, who is designing our landscaping, and they're fairly confident that everything that has been asked for in those reports will be able to be submitted back to the town for their review prior to us getting for the building proposal. If there aren't any questions, I'd love to open up to any.
I have a question. And it's about the entrance, the driveway onto Lafergie. Just the bottom of the driveway. I'm looking at a plan where I believe I see the village right-of-way. And the driveway extends through the hillside. If you want to get the plan with the topography, yeah, that one, right. Yeah.
Someone you're looking at also?
It's a little different. Yeah, you have the elevations on there, right? You have the topographic data where the hillside, the levels of the hillside. You can find the drawing if you want. And I'll tell you why I'm asking this. I may be confused about this, but it looks like you're sort of going through a tunnel as you enter Lafergie. I mean, the walls are higher than would be at, the level of eye level of a person in a car as you're entering Lafergie Avenue on the hillside. So I thought that was a little dangerous.
Lanny, are you on by any chance? I know that the driveway is a bit below grade as we're going up to the current grade of the property and we're building a retaining wall against it. But I do believe coming off from the Fergie into the driveway, it does meet the grade.
It does, yes, it does meet the grade, but what I'm concerned about is whether there's sight lines on Lafergie as you're coming out.
So one of the things we asked for in our memo was profile of the driveway, sight distance at the driveway entrance. And also, if you notice, the walls actually extend into the right-of-way.
Yes.
So that was in our comment memo. You would need permission from the village board or some kind of licensing agreement, maintenance agreement to do that within the right-of-way. So I don't know if your engineer is looking at that, maybe to regrade that possibly.
I believe he is. I think Dan.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me now? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. That driveway comes down to zero at the, where it hits the street there. So there would not be a visual problem there.
Yes, but I'm just looking at 15 feet from where it hits Lafergie. The wall is over 5 feet high.
I don't believe the difference between the wall and the driveway is anywhere near that.
Well, I'm looking at the plan here, and the topo says 260, and the driveway says 255. And the wall's got to be higher than the surrounding earth. So,
Well, we would certainly bring it down to zero there. There's got to be a visual
Yeah,
on both sides of the road.
yeah, it's my concern that whoever's driving out of the driveway can easily look both ways.
Absolutely.
That's my only comment.
And this driveway meets the grade criteria? I mean, it looks like it goes up 24 feet between the street and the.
The driveway is
garage.
designed at a 10% slope.
And that's good, right?
Which is not.
12 is our limit, right?
Man, which is not nothing, but.
Again, we did ask for a driveway profile, so that will also confirm that slope.
Yeah.
Open the public hearing.
Yeah.
Slide into the.
Anybody else?
I just wanted to quickly mention, I know some of our neighbors had some concerns about the runoff coming off the hill. As there's, I believe, a house right across where the house is, and the runoff. So we've been working with our engineer to make sure that there are pits, sprinkler lights.
Max, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you get closer to the microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Better? Yeah.
Lovely. So I was just talking about,
I don't know which of those microphones is live.
The other one.
Yeah, you might want to point it at, turn it up so that it's pointing. There you go.
there we go. So here is where I believe he's added a trench drain right at the bottom of the driveway. And then we've also added, what are these called? Dry well systems, two over here and one down here to capture the runoff that comes off the hill. And we've also worked with our landscape architect to build a rockery or a garden here, which will also help with that runoff that doesn't splash into the house across the road. Thank you.
This is a public hearing. I'd like to move that we open the public hearing. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jordan Kingston. Hi, Nancy and John. We just went into contract on 83 Lafergie today, so I will be your neighbor. Nice to meet you. I have two kids as well. So I was concerned, well, I just wanted to know about construction, when it may or may not start. That was, one concern, because we're hoping to move in pretty soon. And I walked the lot last weekend, and I was just trying to figure it all out. So besides that, I know, John, I talked to you a little bit about the driveway because it curves right to the property. So, and, coming from the city and not knowing construction, all that, I mean, I worry about everything from how close that wall is for the driveway to the property line, if I'm gonna have room there, if I could plant trees, all of that things, human error. I mean, I don't know if a construction person is going to get there and, who knows, stranger things happen. So those are my main questions and concerns.
Good. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dinshaw Patel. I live at 80 Lafergie Avenue, right opposite where the driveway ends. I am very concerned about water coming down this steep driveway onto our property. I just heard some aspects of correcting for that, and I'd like to ask the committee what is the best way to approach it. I would assume that there would be a catch basement at where the driveway meets the road of a width that would catch the water and prevent it from coming across the street on our property. This is not a light matter because in the last storm, our neighbors, two houses down from us, were flooded, both their basement and their garage, and caused a lot of damage. So I'd like to ask the committee, what is the best approach to catch this water that's going to come down this steep driveway? My own feeling is a basement at the road level with a width that sort of matches the width of the road. Thank you.
Yeah, and puts the water somewhere else.
So Anthony, that's something
We're looking
that,
at Anthony.
So they added a trench drain at the property line. The thing is, the property line's quite a ways back from the edge of the road. Not sure what the distance is, so there's a little distance of about 20 feet that would still run off into the road, but there is a trench drain at the property line. It goes into a dry well. Thing is, with the dry wells, their engineer did call me the other day. They haven't done percolation tests and testing for rock and groundwater because it would be pretty invasive on that site with the tree removal and so forth. So they're proposing for that to be conditional on an approval. And if once they could, before getting a building permit, they could do that testing, and if something needs to change, they kind of take the risk, though, if it's a drastic problem, though, they would have to come back to the board, with any site plan change. But if it's just a change to the configuration of the drywall system, we could deal with that in engineering.
but this applicant can't really do anything more than what they're doing, right? Which is to have a trench drain, right? Unless the village somehow worked out some
Right.
arrangement where the village allowed them to have a trench drain
Well,
right away, which is hard to imagine.
I'm not sure there's any drainage in that roadway in that area.
Yeah,
So, if there was, they could possibly connect to it with overflow piping or something, or put catch basins in the roadway. But you need something to connect it to.
Right.
Yeah.
So having the trench drain at the property line for the width of the driveway is pretty much what they can do.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of the limit of what.
Right.
But it sounds like it should be looked at holistically, not only his property, but also village property, if it's damaging the neighbor's house, if the floods are damaging neighbor's houses. So what kind of coordination do you imagine could happen with the village?
Well, we are looking in that area at flood issues. So the village is looking at that kind of holistically, so I'm not sure anything's gonna happen on Lafergie. But, the village is conscious of that.
Anybody else that wishes to speak on this? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have much standing left. I'm Tom Blum. I lived at 83 Lafergie, just to the south, for many years. Yeah, I think that, I think quite a few people say there's a lot of water, so you're taking a very close look at that. I actually have a question as much as a hope. There's a magnificent maple, I think maple, very much on the northwest corner of what will not be my property, of the property. And I just don't know what the codes are or in terms of protecting the roots, because it's right on the border. And I haven't really seen how close the building is. And my hope really is that they'll take, the new owners, Max, will take care to use effective protection during construction of that tree, because it's really a beauty. Other than that,
Good. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is how close is construction to the roots of the tree? I want to know.
It'll be about
20 feet away?
20 feet.
20 feet away from the trunk of it.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good.
Until we get our first on-site.
Okay.
We're hoping to get on-site the next week too.
Okay.
And that should also help with the remaining tree calculations that we have there, because I believe there's a deficit of 106 inches right now, but with the arborist report, once they do the assessment of the current trees on the property, that should help with that assessment.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Suzanne, the village arborist, had a number of comments that were submitted.
a letter.
Right.
Like Tom, we don't really have standing anymore, but I'm Nancy Hafner.
In the microphone, please.
83 Lafergie, just down from it. I would just urge there be, the village look at the issue that I brought up before, which is the traffic and the vast amount of foot traffic, jogging, people pushing strollers on a street that has no parking and also has no sidewalks. When you look out, when you see where that driveway is and you look at the property just to the side of it, other side of it, their driveway comes down with a wall. You curve around to the golf course, cars are trying to zip around to get to Mercy College and miss all the traffic. There's a real traffic problem, and I think the village needs to enter into the solution of it. I know you talked about maybe sidewalks someplace. I don't know what they are, but I just, it feels like an accident waiting to happen, and it's serious.
Have you brought this to the trustees?
No,
I would recommend that. I mean, I think they could install traffic calming systems like speed humps or something like that. That would be more their purview than ours.
okay.
Good. Thank you. Anything else, or we can close the public hearing?
Anybody online?
So, I mean, this board wants the, if you close the public hearing, then, I mean, there are still some outstanding comments, especially
From the landscape,
architect, so.
Well, also, I think we want to see a driveway profile, right?
Yeah,
So
okay.
maybe don't close the public hearing.
Okay,
then.
no, we'll continue it. That's fine.
And answers about the wall being on the right of way.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Should I second that? Continue the public hearing to the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Next on our agenda, 21 Hollywood Drive, public hearing for proposed plans to construct a new single-family home, residence, and garage on combined lot. Uh-huh.
Who is this, Nancy?
21.
surprising there's that many empty lots in the village.
I know, yeah. Yeah, they're getting,
Getting
tricky ones are
funky.
getting, yeah, the tricky, funky ones are getting.
Yeah.
We've got a for sale sign on Asher, that lot, it's like, this.
Yeah, right by the, right by the sawmill.
Let me make it.
Yeah.
Be sure and get that net and gross thing straightened out before that happens.
Right.
Hi, are we all set?
Yes, yes.
Okay. My name's Elliot Maltby. This is Mark Mancuso. We're the architects for this project. It's a single-family house on Hollywood Drive. It's 3,000 square feet with a garage. You can see here it's sort of straddles, the lot straddles the Dobbs Ferry town line. And on the right, the rendering is of the front facade, what you would see from the street. So it kind of reads essentially like a single-level building. On the left is the garage. There's kind of a breezeway cutting through. And then we're taking advantage of the topography of the slope. And on the back, we're getting a two-story structure there. Next, roll up, I guess. Thanks. We're building as of right in terms of kind of the prevailing height and the prevailing setback in relationship to the adjacent neighbors. Inside the little red box is the current building, so there is a small structure there. We're kind of reading a comparable size as that existing structure. We're taking that down, obviously. And next one. Materials-wise, so we're seeing the front and rear elevations, side elevations here. On the front, you're reading mostly wood. It's a thermo hemlock. And then on the back, on the kind of lower section, it's a fiber concrete panel. The other materials are, there is an exterior deck that we're using Ipe. We're gonna let that weather. I don't think anyone's gonna see it in the back there. And then there are also some pavers that run through that kind of breezeway at the top there. Otherwise, the windows, all the windows are black. There's some black trim at the fascia of the roof, and at the fascia of, there's kind of of the deck, and there's a planter below the deck as well. We can see. In terms of site conditions, sorry, this is reading a little funky, but we're removing 5 trees that are considered protected in terms of size, 7 overall, replacing that with the required 33 inches of diameter caliper, 14 new trees from the list that's approved, native trees. In terms of lighting, this is on the same plan because it's so minimal. We have a couple of lights adjacent to the driveway, down lighting, some recessed cans at the front and through that breezeway, and then 2 sconces at the rear. And then this is our site engineer's work. So addressing the stormwater management, there's a small rain garden that you can see here, and provisions for erosion control during construction. And these last drawings are the interior, if there are any questions around that otherwise. Miss anything?
No.
All right.
Nice looking building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. This is a public hearing. I'd like to move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Anybody to speak on it?
Hello, are you able to see me and hear me?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, that's a little bit creepy, but This is my first time. My name is Ellen Driscoll, and I'm a resident at 2 Moulton Avenue, which is not this property. But my husband is in the room. He can give a wave if you see him, I believe. And I'm asking about the property 6 Moulton Avenue, which is our direct neighbor. I'm asking because we received a notice in the mail that that property would be discussed tonight. However, that property does not appear on the meeting agenda. So I'm wondering if 6 Moulton Avenue will be discussed tonight or if we are at the wrong meeting.
Does that notice say Dobbs Ferry?
It sure does.
And it says planning board meeting?
It sure does.
Hmm,
It's official.
It's not on our agenda. Somebody must have did the wrong mailing. Hmm. Yeah, that's not on. Do you know if it's 6 Moulton? I
Well-
don't even know of a permit or an application for 6 Moulton.
We do not have that on our agenda.
Do you need more information from this letter, or can you tell me when this will be addressed, or what date we should attend?
There's no application.
Yeah, we don't have any.
I think that's maybe a mistake that that letter went out.
Well, I'll read to you what it says, and I apologize to the resident of the house for taking up your time, but it says owner name John Apostopoulos, and it says has filed an application with the Village of Dobbs Ferry to do a degrading of rear yard to protect from future potential flooding experienced during Hurricane Ida, and the planning board meeting first Thursday at 7:30 is checked.
And this is over by the sawmill?
Correct.
Yeah, we don't have it on our
We don't have
agenda.
anything.
I don't even recall an application for that.
Okay,
Maybe-
well, I think that's the answer.
Well, thanks. Well,
So what,
definitely.
Well, I think you
Whatever
should,
ex-
you should
I guess-
contact the building.
You could contact the building department tomorrow. You could stop in and see Sarah.
okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you so much.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt, thank you, bye-bye.
Sorry for the interruption there.
Okay, all right, sorry. Please.
Yeah, hello. My name is Joan Piscatello. I live at 250 Judson, which is at the bottom of the slope where the proposed construction on Hollywood Avenue is supposed to take place. I've lived there for 30 years, and my house is actually on the lower part of the slope. What concerns me is I see that part of their plan includes a substantial tree removal. I mean, it's a very wooded area. So when you look back, I'm looking into woods with large old trees. And also, the second thing that concerns me is the construction of the rain garden. I didn't know what a rain garden was until a couple of days ago. And, but I mean, I know that these are fairly new, you know, kinds of projects, let's say. But in any case, both projects seriously worry me. I worry about flooding in general. I mean, so much so that I really spent a lot of money doing things in the basement, probably about a year ago, to prevent future flooding. And another concern I see as a result of the proposed construction is the erosion of the slope. I mean, we're talking about something pretty steep, and I think maybe my neighbor will might have more details than I do. I'm not really sure. Okay, all right, we're just talking generally tonight. I think I read somewhere that it was like a 22-degree angle. I mean, it's a slope in any case. And then, as a couple of other people have alluded to tonight, there have been a couple of recent rainstorms that have resulted in flooding, like certainly I have never seen, to my house. So I talked to Cliff lives on one side of me, and I have another neighbor who was not able to come tonight, who suggested that, perhaps we should get an evaluation by an experienced hydrologist, because of the fact that slope is so steep and because of the rain garden and the removal of all the trees. So I just want to end by saying that considering the location of my house, I'm truly alarmed. And, I hope there will be more evaluation done. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony can answer this a little more clearly, but they should be putting in a much enhanced stormwater management system over what the Little Red House has now.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Clifford Kahan. I live 256 next door to Joan and downhill from the property. I guess it's a broken record to say stormwater and trees, but certainly that's basically what our backyard is a steep hill with trees and water. I'm a local contractor. I take care of Joan's house. I know how much water she gets in her basement. And I noticed when I reviewed the documentation, there was a letter submitted back about stormwater plan computations, the rain garden, which again, I didn't know before. Certainly a rain garden's not going to cut it. And the response from the letter was the rain garden overflow and discharge must be shown on the plan, proposed grading. And the response was grading is shown, under drains are optional and will not be used.
What's been your experience now with the property as it is?
During heavy rains, there's significant surface runoff. That's one of the things I'd like to propose is to protect for surface runoff, because there's percolation of what's going to seep in. There's a lot of rock back there. You can see the silt and sediment of what comes down on my retaining wall. I'm constantly digging from behind my retaining wall so that it's retaining. I have to take the silt that comes down off the hill. So I did see something on there, and Joan referred to it as the gradings of somewhere between 12 and 25% is what was listed in some of the documentation. I think, you hear the number that you want to hear.
It's an extremely steep property.
Okay, so you get it.
I live in the neighborhood, I know it.
Okay, so, when you see 12 to 25, like, again, you hear the number you want to hear. If someone says, oh, you're getting a bonus, it's between 12 and 25. Oh, I just heard 25. If somebody says you're repairing your car, it's going to be 1,200 or 2,500, you hear 1,200. So, you hear what you want to hear. So I'm just curious why, the underground drains. And as far as the house goes, looks like a nice house. I mean, I'll be seeing the back of it, much like 2 houses over in Hastings. They're building on a steep slope. You can see only from the woods. And I assume it's a similar modern design. And there's no variances. They can build what they want. Concern about the trees. The plan that's listed as the landscape plan certainly seems a little light in terms of what's identified there. There's way more canopy than what appears on the landscape plan. shaking your head, so I assume that.
It's a heavily wooded lot.
It's a heavily wooded lot, correct. So there's a lot of surface runoff, so potentially a retaining wall in the back to just handle the surface runoff. And obviously, any rainwater that's collected on the roof is going towards this rain garden, which should probably have drains that it seems relatively simple to just direct it around both Jones' property and my property and into Hillside Woods. There is a stream there that could would accept the rainwater. It just needs to be directed in that way.
That pump that's at the bottom of the hill from your house?
Correct.
What, is that a?
That's a sewage pump.
That's a sewage pump, okay.
Yeah, that pump is.
So rainwater doesn't get in there?
Rainwater, no, that pump is its own entity.
That's sanitary, that's the village's.
All right,
sanitary.
okay.
Yeah, that's the villages, and they do a good job of maintaining it, except for when it breaks. Which happens to be right at the base of my driveway, so that's another issue altogether.
Are you the last house
Yes,
on the uphill side?
I'm the last house on the right-hand side on Judson, correct.
So another reason to take care of the runoff,
Yes,
obviously.
yes. So, I mean, it's a beautiful, obviously we chose the area. If you, on Judson Avenue, that lower part of Judson, there's almost no turnover. I've been there 20 years, Jones 30-something, our neighbors all across, nobody moves. There's no reason to down there. So it's a perfectly nice area, and just to protect the hillside is what we see, and the surface runoff. I did notice one thing, and I don't think it's an issue. I saw something on the drawings that it might just be form. There's no blasting in Dobbs Ferry, right?
They usually do, they do chipping.
Chipping?
mechanical.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't, maybe it's just form on the form. I didn't know if that was a thing, but certainly if that was the case, or if there's any major excavation, certainly the rock that's behind our house would be
They can blast on the Hastings side.
yeah, they can blast on the Hastings side, that's fine.
So is it
No, but-
realistic to
No, there's no, I just saw it, when I looked at the paperwork, so.
is it realistic to have them look at their overflows, their stormwater management overflows down past your house into the creek that goes to Sugar Pond?
Correct, especially with the new house that's being built at 253, I think it is, which is diagonally across the street. Since that house has gone up, my neighbors on the other side, they have an issue, but
Not your problem.
not my lawn.
No, you're.
So the other thing about the tree removal, and I assume that's under another, that's got its own approval process. My fear is that what happened at the 253 lot will happen again, which is they get approval to remove X number of trees and go ahead and take down 2 or 3X of trees and just pay the fine. New construction of houses like this, $2-3 million you're talking about for a house, it's a rounding error of the price that you have to pay to replace those trees. So one neighbor just accepted it and built it into their budget. But realistically, once those trees are gone, they're gone. So
They only took one extra tree there.
really, it was only one?
Yeah. The rest were on the plan. He got fined for
I
one
stand
tree.
corrected. I stand corrected then. It just seemed like exponentially more, because he had a lot of plantings. Maybe I was confusing his plantings with trees. But again, that's not here, not for you guys anyway. But yeah, so it fundamentally just around, the runoff, and the saving, what we see as, from what I can tell, I won't even, in the springtime and whatnot, I probably won't even see it because it's up close to the tree, up close to the street on Hollywood. And then, so even if the rain garden, I suppose, which is positioned on the one side, maybe move it to the other side, where the lot is connected on the other side, which would make it overflow more towards the Hastings side. Maybe reposition it. And, Hillside Woods is welcome to come to our meetings, right? They get their notifications as well. And then I guess just something that I guess I take up with the neighbors directly is just to maintain what trees there are there, because that lot has been, no one's trimmed any of those trees in 20 plus years. So there certainly needs to be some tree trimming done on those trees, but also it didn't look like they were looking to take those down, so as long as it stays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question about the rain garden. If it's mostly rock and it's, retaining the water, what happens to it?
Well, it has a sub.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, we're calling it a rain garden, but it's really more like what we call a bioretention. It's designed for 25-year storm. So it has a depth of filtering soil, and they're relying on infiltration in that spot.
So no dry well under?
No. So, there will be, so it's designed for 25-year storm, so there will be a storm that's going to overwhelm it, and it will spill down the hill the way, I don't know if there's anything there now with the house that's existing. So it will be an improvement, to an extent. But I would suggest maybe the neighbors get together with them, and if they have some suggestions, possibly to redirect that overflow. I don't see why they wouldn't, have that discussion. But on the trees, I thought there were just tree removals like on the upper area, not on the slope area. Okay.
Yeah.
The diagram is the graphic, so it looks like we're not removing any trees other than a big tree protector.
If
That's at least the trees there.
if there's, a concern by the board to ask for, additional stormwater protection, you could design for a larger storm, so there's always that. But they're, conforming to the code requirement.
Have they submitted everything?
Yeah.
To support their stormwater management?
Yeah, the engineer sent me the calculations, actually just right after the last meeting, when he saw the memo. And they've regraded it, and they've done a few things to address our comments.
Well, don't we require a 100-year storm management?
Not on this size lot. On disturbances of 1 acre or more, it's required under the DEC regulations to design up to a 100-year storm, but not under the Dobbs Ferry code.
Good.
Would it be possible to take a look at overflow going down into the creek at the bottom of the hill?
And I agree that 25 years or so threshold, honestly,
Maybe a little water wheel and plays music or something.
Anything else?
Is this a public hearing? Yeah?
Yeah, it is. I think we opened the public hearing.
Yes, it is. No comments?
Well, we've had lots of comments.
Yeah.
So,
No more comments?
are we prepared tonight?
You just gave direction to the applicant to look at downstream. So, I mean, what does this board want to do?
Okay, well,
Was that something they can work out with Anthony, or,
I
I
mean,
want to hold them up for
we
no
could
reason?
certainly review it prior to building permit, again, but if the board, is the board directing them to work with the neighbor and maybe revise the stormwater plan accordingly. And as long as it doesn't, thing is, if it sounded like they were describing maybe moving stormwater basin to another location, that would be a different site plan layout.
Right.
Right.
Well, how difficult would it be to implement an overflow that,
I'm not sure. I'd have to really.
Goes down
look at
into
it closely.
hillside
I'm not
waters.
really sure exactly what he's describing. I'd have to look at it. You know, it sounds like it's in maybe the wrong spot for the overflow that you're talking about. So that basin would have to be in a different spot. It may need more tree removal as well. So,
What amount of soil that's being removed or something?
yeah, it could be a larger
on the
disturbance
site, and
area.
require site plan approval again.
Yeah, so so if we think there's gonna be a change like that, you should probably hold it over and get a revised plan.
well, I think this is a very steep site with a lot of water issues already. And I think maybe taking an additional month to do the best job we can is appropriate.
If you're gonna do that, would you like me to send the landscaping plan out to the village's landscape architect?
That's a
just
good
for her
idea.
review as well?
See if she has any suggestions about.
Yeah, I mean, for the
Way
most
to-
part, I didn't send it out for this application because the trees that were being removed were specifically associated with the construction as opposed to the last application, which wasn't.
Right.
And that they did meet the replacement requirements, but we can have her take a look at the application. Okay.
Is there a architectural reso?
AHRB,
AHRB.
the resolution.
Because we all like the building, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can.
Everybody just like the
We
building.
like the building,
No, I would think it's beautiful.
I'm fine.
especially the neighbors.
If you want to, pass the AHRB, you can. They can't move forward with the building permit until the
That's
site
site
plan.
plan.
Right.
Okay, so we might as well do it later.
Yeah.
So,
We kick it forward a month.
So just to make sure that it's only 1 month, are there any other open issues besides the stormwater management?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
There was, one of the things we noted about retaining wall heights was noted to be on the architectural plan, and we didn't receive that, so just make sure. Maybe for next month, we get a full set of plans. And again, this is another one where it'll also be contingent on soil testing prior to building permit, as we were speaking about in the last application. And just, call out the tree protection. That's another comment we had a little more clearly. I guess Susan, landscape architect, will also be looking at that.
Yeah, since erosion appears to be an issue as well, are we satisfied that the erosion control plan, both for construction and anything we do after as part of the design, is looked at?
Yeah, I mean, it was, a plan was included for sediment erosion control, so.
That was for just construction.
for-
The,
well,
yeah.
the plan just had erosion control for the construction material, the right
Yes.
side of the property.
Okay, no, I believe they have a full sediment erosion control plan where they're showing silt fence and so forth around the perimeter.
For construction.
For construction, yes.
Okay, but not for
Right.
overall erosion.
Oh, no, this is just, you're exactly right, for construction.
Okay, well, I guess the consensus is that we move forward to the next month, and,
Continue the public hearing next month?
yep.
Yes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Thank you.
See you next month. Okay, we move to the next part of our meeting, pre-submission conference for planning board and AHRB agenda.
One quick question. Can we ask about 35 Landing, the replacement of the deck?
35.
Well,
I think, is that going to be discussed?
That was already approved.
We already did.
What's he saying?
35 Landing.
We're 35.
We already approved that. It was back in the.
Yes, thank you.
We still have 99 now.
Yeah.
Yes.
99.
We could go back.
99.
99 meeting.
Next one is,
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we had a resolution. And we
Is there someone here for 99 Main?
Peter.
Right, they weren't here earlier.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
That came up really early. so-
Early.
Yeah, that was 5 from.
Now, that's just an AHRB issue? The footprint's not changing, the building envelope's not changing?
Nothing.
Okay.
Facade, and, a new, roof
It should
line.
be simple.
Yes.
That's it.
I looked at it. Looks like a big
Very
improvement.
cool glass floor.
Really?
First floor is glass
Really?
with a skylight, light down.
In the floor. It looks like a big improvement.
Oh, huge.
Oh, just to move.
And it matches,
Do they have a tenant already?
yeah, they have, I don't know.
Just gonna show over there.
Get these things.
Some, like, professional offices?
I don't know, I don't remember what it is. It's an office space.
More, closer?
Sorry, everybody remember who. They're taking both floors.
Are we back to Main Street?
99.
I don't even know if they said it
That's nice.
in the application.
Yeah, it is.
There we go.
What argument do you have?
The only argument is it makes the buildings on the other side.
Look, shoddy.
Shitty.
Okay, he's a good architect.
I don't know.
This can be quick.
You have to make it
Going
look worse.
never there.
That's the other.
This can be,
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Pete Gould
Yes.
from Mike Lewis Architects here
Yeah.
in Dobbs Ferry.
Said it last time,
And
every
we're
time I
at
go
99
by.
Main Street,
Mhm.
exterior for our AHRB public meeting. Just a quick overview. 99 Main Street's a two-story building. It's got a one-story facade in the front. Then we've got a rear alley that dips to the back, and it's got a two-story facade in the back of the building. It used to be the old DeBari engineering offices for a long time. And we're just doing a gut renovation, and it's the same scope, everything else, offices. We have no, not expanding the footprint. There are no water issues that I know of. And everything on it is similar in scale to what was there. When we first started to look at the outside of it, we did a little research, went to the Dobbs Ferry Historical Society, and they couldn't really come up with anything other than the photo of the fire from 1918
yeah,
Yeah.
saw that. That's great.
up the block there. So we thought, oh, we might find something to go on there, but this is all said. And we also looked at the Dobbs Ferry Historical Guidelines, just a general overview of that, and then, of course, just the context of Main Street and the buildings that are there. That's what we did, coming up with the design of it. So these are just some textual photos at the front. This is the 99 Main here in the middle, we did that run in the green cleaner store. Just looking up and down the street. And then if you go down around the alley in between and to the back, this is the rear. Sort of this one-piece setback on the back that's steps back, and then the main building in the front, that goes all the way to the front.
Was that low section added later?
It's the whole, done some, that section was added later, and it looks like 2/3 of the building was original. There's about a 2-foot thick stone wall that was there, and it looks like they added another, 15 or 20 feet onto this before they even added the lower piece. So no other info on the building other than, when it was built.
So do you anticipate structural issues when you renovate gut?
I don't think so, it's pretty strong. There's two side walls. The roof is intact and bridges between them. So the front facade really here is just infill, like you can take all of it out and just replace it, which is basically what we're doing. The only thing we're leaving intact is on the front, see that in the front elevation. There is a large triple beam that runs across from wall to wall. So we're leaving that in place, shoring it up from below, and just infilling between, underneath that and above it for the side.
Thank you.
Let's just take a look at the front elevation, the rear elevation, if they exist in front on the bottom here, and the proposed elevation on the top. And then again, on this side, this is the rear of the existing, and we're just opening up the back here and putting some more windows and doors. There now, we're just making it a little larger, nicer. A few sectional drawings that just show, what it looks like from the front, this is the front, this is the rear, lower piece, and the back. Again, we're not changing the volume or shape at all, roof structure, and everything else stays intact. Really just here showing what we're doing at the front and the rear.
Are there condensing units on the roof now?
Yeah, there's two condensing units that are on the unit, on this lower wall, right next to the adjacent building. So we're proposing just one heat pump unit that we want to relocate even out of the alley. The alley's really narrow, about 40 feet. So we want to put that sort of further towards the back here, where there's more of an open yard, depending on how far close it is to the neighbors. I think John or Dan, you probably take a look at that. 5 feet. 5 feet. Yeah, we should be able to.
So nothing's going on the roof?
No.
Can you reveal who the new tenant will be?
Excuse me.
Can you reveal who the new tenant?
It's a Genesis Realty.
Who, do you own the building? Who owns the building?
Excuse me?
Do you own the building?
Oh, no.
No.
Architects.
Yeah, you're just the
No,
architect.
we're just the architect for Genesis Realty.
Because the reason I'm asking is because if it were up to me, the building would be bigger. We would have added 2 stories to it with housing above. But I assume you're,
This is what they.
yeah, that's what they want. Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's beautiful. Your drawings are beautiful. And this is a huge improvement.
Yes.
I'm just saying, it's too bad it is, too bad it isn't.
More improved.
Yeah, it could have gone 2 stories.
My only comment is it's going to make the buildings on either side look a little worse.
They just redone their neighborhood. Just kind of.
That's the nature of Dow's Ferry.
In front. So those are the sections. Let me just go to the AHRB drawing. So again, this is the rear elevation, front elevation, some of the materials, and again, really what we started with was, so we wanted to do a brick building similar to many of the smaller buildings on Main Street, or brick face anyway. So we just kind of copied some of the shapes that are typical on Main Street, and wanted to do a nice stone base to lift it up off the sidewalk where it's angled. Really hard to get that brick come down to the sidewalk on an angle and make it look nice. So we just set up that as a little base to set the building up on. Steps up 7 inches in.
What, you say thin brick veneer, what does that mean?
This is just a thin brick veneer that's on the new wall of the building.
I know, but it's like, what is it? Because that stuff can look pretty funky depending on what it, like, is it going to look like brick or is it going to look like somebody pasted something on?
Exactly. No, we were just talking about this in the office.
Okay.
I even said to someone in the office, you can't just do regular brick here.
Right, why not just do orange?
And we might, but this is the brick that we're going after, just a very, very nice common red brick,
Is it put up in,
very thin joint lines.
is it put up in panels or is it put up in individual bricks?
It's like, I think it's almost exactly half regular.
Mhm. And they're put up individually? Or they put up in panels?
It's in like a section, I forget
forget exactly the sections, but we did consider Gilbert. But this, I think it's kind of a look, you can't tell that it's a veneer print. Like,
On the returns to the
it
window.
returns, everything returns to inside
Huh?
to the windows and then at the edge of the building.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay.
We're also replacing, there's a gate here now, kind of a rundown gate. This gate just really goes to this, it doesn't go to the alley proper, it just goes to a little platform it uses as a trash shed.
So the sides of the building, are they, getting back to what Rob was kind of looking at there, is the whole sides of the building in the alleyway, is that brick also, or is some of the
No, the
material?
entire side is stucco.
Okay,
Yeah, so this side, this side is, none of it, you can't see it.
right.
It's against the top.
But when it returns there on that corner where the alleyway is at the top, what does it look like?
Yeah, where it turns, it's all stucco.
Right, so then Rob's point, you'll see like a veneer like this, and then it'll
Oh, yeah,
be
we're
stuck up.
gonna turn the corner with brick.
With brick.
And terminate it, so it's not.
You're not gonna look at the end of the veneer.
Right.
We're gonna turn
Okay.
that around the corner and turn,
This,
as it meets the stucco. No,
Okay.
yeah, it's one of those things, it's hard to see, it's unrealistic.
no, I
Two-dimensional
understand, that's why I'm
drawing.
asking. Okay,
But what
thank
does it
you.
look like, yeah, like on this shot? When you're walking down the street.
Right.
You wanna see.
Right, a thin, yeah. Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Looks like a nice
And
project.
It's just architecture, so we don't need a public hearing.
No, we don't need a public hearing.
We have a resolution?
Yes, we
We can
do.
just.
Oh, we have a resolution.
Anybody from the public have their hand up or
Oh,
anything?
It's not a public hearing.
Not a public hearing.
AHRB is a meeting.
No, but they don't have to, it's a public
They don't have
meeting.
to take public comment. It's not a public, it's a meeting. Actually, they don't have to take public comment. It's up to the chair.
Okay.
No, they don't. It's not a public hearing. Only at a public hearing do you have to take.
okay.
So are we ready? John,
Yeah.
are we good?
Do we vote?
We vote?
To the resolution? Okay. The property is located at 99 Main Street. The AHRB of the Village of Dobbs Ferry determines that based upon the findings and reasons set forth below, the application for architectural and historic review approval is granted subject to the following, and specifically refers to the architectural drawings dated May 9th, 2023, and the AHRB materials package dated May 9th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Yep, so move.
Aye, second?
Second. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yep.
All right, I think we're down to
Resubmission, yeah.
pre-submission conference for planning board HR. The first one I see is 25 Osceola Avenue. Seems like everything's on Osceola. Continuation of referral from zoning board of appeals for proposed plans to construct retaining walls to level rear yard and ancillary site work.
Good evening, Bob Petrani and Dan Sherman, landscape architect, the applicants, Michael and Julie Somali. And so I think Michael did present a plan last meeting.
Yep.
And that plan had some retaining walls, and we have a revised plan to explain to you, okay? And so some things have changed, some not. This original plan, they can take them back. So change, look there, instead of the tiered retaining wall, the terrace walk down. Two radius. Height of this retaining wall is 6 feet. Okay, and this retaining wall starts here, goes up, around, at maximum height is 8 feet, which is way up. So from here to where the point of curvature is, the average height is 12. 4 by 2 feet. As you come out of the curve, or about 20 feet in here, you're gonna have walls 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, which is high, back, down, grade. The time it gets the first. So, the application, one of the things we're trying to do with the application is to have it as a plan. So we're going to create this across, there is an existing wall here now. Move it, stairs, walks, it's, set of stairs down, plateau. As far as, stormwater management, okay, when you do a job like this, okay, the level of land, okay, you can greatly reduce the, so what you have now is 27 cents to, so that's kind of, difficult to deal with, trying to pull it on, okay, trying to, whenever you fertilize the lawn or something like that, rainstorm, washes it all off. So one of the nice things about retaining walls, what is that? So other things that will be happening. Here's a driveway, which is a gravel driveway. This plan will show it. Overall site plan. So, look at the driveway, gravel, pave it, put architect goes and there's still more than that. Pick up. Here, okay, and there's only very still more than that. So, arch dam, HDD pipes, okay, we can put. Present, roof leaders, house, not just discharge down the hill, connect that. So, that's it. For children, on the yard, retaining wall system. Was 0, 2 persons, 8 foot 10 high, and back. If you have any questions, landscape architect. One of the things is a lot of very high evergreens over here. You can't even see the house from here. Move down the line of it.
So there are a couple of issues in our planner's memo that I guess you have to get a variance for the wall height. And the ZBA has asked for some kind of guidance from us regarding the visual issues that the neighbors are concerned about. So how do we, what's the best way to address that?
The drawings, it's the views, they don't, it doesn't show basically the angle of the neighbor's view of the larger wall.
Okay, so, I mean,
It says a bunch of trees in front of it.
So I looked at it in Google Maps and Earth. So, face of the house over here is like this. This way.
Mm-hmm.
Deciduous trees, pretty dense. They're 155 feet away.
Yes, yeah, I know that. Right.
Those evergreens that you're removing from the front yard, they're going to be planted between the wall and the neighbors?
And there's some landscape for that, but this, it's just very high. 8 to 9 feet.
Higher than that, well.
So they're gonna be taken out, some of them are gonna, sort of looking right here. Okay, my opinion is that between the vegetation, the distance from the other house, the number of large deciduous trees between the property line and the house, doesn't appear to me that there's a impact.
I have one code question first, though, that the owner, the adjacent neighbor asked. For the wall, when it exceeds a certain height, does it have to have some kind of railing on it or protect, or?
Only if it's, you direct people there to like a walking surface. or
Okay,
something.
so the top of the wall, it doesn't need yet another structure on top? Okay.
Not in this.
So, I mean, I spent some time over there walking around, and it is true that the house is pretty far away. It's also true that because of the topography and the fact that the trees are deciduous, at least when I was there, they'll see this. I mean, it's not like it won't, it'll be visible. And I guess what I'm wondering is why, it seems to me that there's a relatively easy and maybe attractive solution to the one place. And I appreciate the drawing, the profile of wall 2 drawing where you show the extent of the wall that actually exceeds the code amount. And it's a small, relatively speaking to the whole surface of the wall, it's a small area. But I guess I'm wondering why couldn't you, is that the plan, the same plan that I'm looking at? If you go to is this the one that's the plan of all the walls? Do you have that drawing? It's not, that's not this one, is it? Are you and I looking at the same?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, so I guess what I'm wondering is, why wouldn't it be possible for there to be another tier, a low wall, essentially parallel, following the curvature of the high wall, in that low zone that would be full of plantings and so on, so that it would essentially be, it'd be in that area where it's deepest, there would be another step between the highest elevation and that area where it really becomes very, very high.
Right. It's obvious that you could do that. Now, whether it's really going to change the joint is something I can't understand. And as you go, the wall over here is about 6 feet high. Okay? As you spin through here, okay?
That's where it
you've got
gets.
a maximum height, right there, 8 foot 10 inches.
Right.
And then it goes to 7 and 6. Okay, and 7 and 6, the tree in the way, and the trees over here, seems like, you know. Look, I think that, it's necessary. Not for such a short section of wall.
Seems, I don't know, it just seems like it would be an inexpensive way of making this issue of the variance go away.
Well, I can tell you right now, if you put all these trees in here, that's gonna solve the issue of that kid.
Right.
Rob, on the original application, when they first came in, when the ZBA referred it over here, the back wall where it's round now.
Right.
That also needed a variance. That was very high.
I remember.
He
Right.
reduced that a lot.
Yeah.
And the pines in the front that they're gonna plant to buffer that
Yeah.
wall are gonna cover almost
I
the
mean,
entire wall.
Can you
I agree with
suggest to
Senator.
move a 12-foot tree and let it survive?
Mercy College is.
I don't see why you would have to remove that tree.
No, we don't.
Rosedale does it.
I mean, to put in, if you wanted to somehow
They
tier,
grow in pots, right?
soften the height of the wall at that highest place, I don't see why you'd have to take down that tree to do that.
No, I'm not saying to. Even if you wanted me to pursue that, I'd have to put a piece in here, a little piece in here, a little piece in here. They would be achieved. Just put more vegetation. I mean, the idea of a terrace, okay, the higher wall, the higher wall exceeds the height, is really just to put some vegetation.
Well, is the goal visual, Rob, you're thinking, or to eliminate the variance?
Both. I feel like it seems like an easy twofer. We have a project that now
It
is
seems like the
completely
visual,
conforming.
it sounds like they're handling that with the replanting the other
landscaping.
trees.
Right.
So the terracing would maybe potentially eliminate a variance. But I don't know that it does
Yeah.
anything really for the visual, because you still have that same whether it's 2 tiers or
Yeah.
one tier, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me like if they move those trees there and they're healthy and they survive, that it resolves the neighbor's visual concerns.
I think for no matter what, as a condition of approval, could be that if they don't survive, they have to be replanted, right? And we
Right.
can talk about maybe the minimum height of the replanting, to have that same visual effect.
Right, because the neighbor did raise that issue. But I thought with this, don't we with tree screening just in general, isn't there some kind of bonding requirement for trees that are planted for screening? Isn't there some obligation on the part of the owner to maintain that?
Oh, I think only in the view sheds and stuff. I don't know.
I had a couple of questions about the surface of the wall. Would you talk about the surface of the wall? I mean, this is going to be concrete. The larger wall is concrete? Okay. Okay.
Listen, let me go into the engineer, it's okay. We can talk about disturbance, everything. Important, try to do the job. You really don't, I designed a lot of retaining walls in my life, okay, and every situation has the best wall. And in this particular case, if you build a reinforced concrete wall facing stone, okay, then you have a footing that's gonna be 42 inches below grade, and chop it out. Okay? You're aware, there's a lot of ledge rock. Little pieces sticking out here. So there'd be quite a lot of disturbance if you tried to build a conventional reinforced concrete wall, steel in it, okay, and then face it with stone. A lot more disturbance. It just doesn't seem to make much sense.
5 feet.
So this is a perfect site for a modular wall that has geogrids in it. Okay, grade comes down, the wall goes up, the grids go in, and holds the wall. So
Okay.
a lot less disturbance.
Let me ask you about stone facing, a block wall? Is it going to have a stone face on it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
It's a block stone wall.
It's not a rustic stone block, though. So,
right, right, I mean, it's what,
it's a concrete block like with an irregular face.
It's what
not,
we
it's
looked
not
at
really
last-
made to look like
Right,
stone
it's not
necessarily.
that's what we looked at last.
Yeah, that's what we looked at last time.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty handsome.
yeah.
So listen, I have some personal opinions on the wall. If you build a wall, try to build footing, shelf, stone face, okay, there's a lot of disturbance. And I just said that you could build this over. There's nothing, and this wall, okay, there's a lot of stone in here. So let me talk about this. You're gonna have to plant it. This is all gonna be a garden area, it's a very, very nice structure. And this material here, okay, will blend very nicely, okay? With that stone, it'll fit in perfect. It comes around here. So the other thing is, the attributes of this job is to kind of walk down here, very nice garden down here. Let's get it off the place. Still in the vegetation here. And the plan has a post and rail fence. It has a very, yeah, it's a simple post and rail fence. It's not a fence that has
Oh, so we'll have a fence on top.
he's got,
And the second wall is also block?
we're gonna.
The two walls are the same construction?
They should be the same.
Okay.
Okay, and yes, this does fit in. It's a very nice rock.
Okay.
And if you build a wall with a footing, then you gotta be chopping out a rock in here, that doesn't make sense. Okay, you're disturbing
Yeah, I
nice
understand, yeah.
crops that are gonna fit in nicely.
Thank you.
Okay.
the main curved wall has metal railing or like a, okay, and then the other one has the wood. Okay.
Dan Sherman, landscape architect, Pink Fog. So we are putting the arborvitae's, the green giant arborvitae's along the southern side, but the clients are very mindful not to block the neighbor's view, distant view of the golf course, solid golf course. So he asked me to end it where it just blocked the walls, maps of keep them golf course. And then there's a stone, a rustic stone stair, and Julie Savali wanted this big garden, cherry trees, flowers, and shrubbery. On this wall, because to me it's a formal terrace of oaks, but we have a aluminum fence. Formal terrace. Because the kids can play ball. The other one I need to see is here. She was very concerned, or interested in being able to see from this terrace, water course down below. So that's why we shorter, lower, building it up so see down.
So in the renderings, though, I'm just going back to the question before about you are putting a fence, looks like in the renderings, around the other wall as well, the curve.
Both of them, because they're meant
Yeah.
for kids to play.
Right.
One's more formal and one's informal.
I think that's fine.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
The other fence is more rustic, cedar posts. Transparent. Grace.
Right.
Do we need a public hearing?
So this application needs zoning board approval. Zoning
Or
Board of
variance
Appeals,
for the
yes.
height.
Yeah.
So does this board want to recommend they go back to the zoning board of appeals at this point? And then once they have their variances, come back for public hearing?
Okay,
Sure.
All right.
whatever makes it most expeditious.
Will you write the recommendation to the ZBA?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And we all like that recommendation, right?
Yes. Yes. So you're looking for approval for the retaining wall height? That's right.
Variance.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's unanimous.
We would call for a public hearing for next, for the next meeting?
I guess we should, if it's gonna have.
So I think they'll have to, right, Dan, they'll miss the deadline. They missed the deadline will they meet the deadline for ZBA they missed the deadline for this month, so they would be at the ZBA in July. So you might want to call for a public hearing on this in August.
Did you submit for the zoning board already?
Yeah, we, hi, can I be heard?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Hi, it's Mike Savali, the owner of 25 Osceola. We're on the ZBA's, standing agenda, so I think we were hopeful to be at the AHRB public hearing next and then do the ZBA a few days later.
Yep. You could call for the public hearing.
Yeah.
No.
No, you're gonna go to ZBA next Wednesday.
So let's call for a public hearing for next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
July 6th.
Call for public hearing at the next meeting. All
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
So what is the date of the?
July
I'll get you the info, Dan.
ZBA.
Oh, ZBA.
Next Wednesday. Yeah.
But I think right now, did Sarah cancel that meeting because there's no new application?
Oh.
So I don't know if she,
We'll find out.
Yeah, fine.
all right, so maybe we'll get back to them.
They might
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item, 2 Osceola Avenue. I don't know what this is all about, but pre-submission conference for amendment to approval for proposed interior and exterior alterations, second floor dormer addition, and exterior deck replacement.
Mr. Chairman, we would ask to waive the site plan on this and just look at the AHRB portion of it. It's, this just got approved about last month or the month
Right,
before.
so yeah.
And while they were doing construction, he changed the design of his master bedroom a little and made a dormer, but the dormer went up 10 feet. So that's what requires site plan approval.
Oh, gee.
So
It's
you
up to
think
you
we
guys,
should
but
waive
it's
it?
more the AHRB thing. Everything else was looked at
Okay.
when you approved it.
Let's waive it.
Let's waive it.
Or use a different yardstick that has bigger inches on it.
Yeah. I move we waive it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And now you just look at it for the AHRB portion of it.
Okay.
Maybe you just have to use the architect, yeah. Presented earlier this year, that time, small site plan, small dormer addition, back of the house. The dormer addition remains, there's no change to the site plan, from what we discussed earlier this year. And, basically, what we're doing is, okay. So this bubbled area to zoom in here, everything in red was previously that was discussed also
Right.
earlier. This area here is the, continue to scroll down. Go to slide. Okay. I'll just show you some photos. We discussed the views of the existing home. Proposed a gable earlier this year, that remains unchanged. What we're proposing in addition now is the pond side. So on the pond side, the owner would like to have some views of the pond. Really, the only views of the pond right now are from the kitchen, first floor level. So we're introducing a second floor addition with windows that allow them to have a master bedroom. Continue to scroll down. These are the sky plane photos, which sky exposure plane photos, which can remain relatively potential, so we're well within that. Here, this is the area of work that we're talking about tonight. It's currently a 2-story space. So it's a kitchen, dining room, family room, it's high. Some existing exterior views. You'll notice there's a gable on this end and a vaulted. These are existing.
This is really the slide that you
This
have.
is the existing on-site view. And we'll just scroll down to the. This is the kitchen, so now we're introducing a floor level. And that, once we introduce that floor level, we're adding a master bedroom kitchen that of. So into the second floor. This is that master bedroom addition. Proposed roof plans to cover that addition. So here, when I was pointing at the existing elevations, roof line continues this way. So we're videoing it just and again, these roof lines are we're just following the existing roof lines and projecting out.
It's near the golf course.
On the rear side here. So again, it's really just following the existing architectural roof lines and projecting without the comment. The rest of the work remains unchanged from what we did earlier this year. And presenting this evening to the project as actually construction part of it, but the rest of the project is construction. This should remain On the upper stories, we have horizontal party board. On the lower story, it's all white in color. The roof is used dark shingle and dark shingle. Windows are case style windows black.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fine with me?
Yeah,
Looks good.
Fine with me. Any comments or questions?
I kind of like it better. Thank you.
Okay, this is pre-submission. Can we go fast from here?
Yeah, so I do actually have a resolution.
Oh, good.
Do you wanna,
Great. Vote on it?
because this has been noticed for AHRB, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, the property is 2 Osceola Avenue. And AHRB at Village of Bob's Ferry determines that the finding to meet the setback below, the application for architectural review approval is granted, subject to the following conditions, and the resolution specifically refers to the site plans last revised May 4th, 2023. And the landscape plan dated August 13th, 2022.
Good. I move we approve. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
And the last item on our agenda,
That's for you guys.
2123 Hudson Drive, pre-submission conference for proposed remediation of drainage and restoration of patios for 21 and 22 Hudson Drive.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, also with this one, would ask that the site plan be waived.
Okay with me.
What?
The site plan be waived.
No waive. No waive. No waive it.
It was just, the reason that there would be a site plan issue was just the amount of dirt they removed?
It was the amount of soil, they dug out the whole back and the porches, it's more drainage, we're gonna have Anthony look at it.
Okay.
It was the moving of the soil.
So do we need, as part of our waiving it, do we need to involve Anthony?
We actually already looked at it.
Yeah.
We reviewed it,
No.
and, yeah, they're just kind of making a better connection to the storm drain in the roadway. Apparently, they have some drainage issues in the back of the house, and.
Well, it looks like a little more than that.
Yeah.
They had a problem with the foundation there too. It's
What's
cracked,
the
they had
problem
to
with the
repair the
foundation?
Actually,
Yeah.
driving.
Find that picture.
And they, oh, that was your foundation, yeah, that's what they were fixing, that's what they were fixing originally.
Right. This is Jim Hornstein. Just want to add in, there's kind of 2 projects going on here. One is to remediate the drainage, as you were talking about. The other one is to repair the foundation, and they're kind of interconnected, the 2 projects. So that's why the Spartas are there tonight, and I was unable to make it, but I'm online, and so is our engineer somewhere from McLaren. I believe they're online somewhere. If you have any questions.
Are you finding any oyster shells?
No, we haven't found any shells or arrowheads.
That's good.
Husks or anything?
Now, if the foundation is sunk, do you actually have to back up the house to?
Actually, we send the.
They're gonna drive helical files.
We have to.
Really?
Yeah.
We send the plans to.
Yes.
The department, they
Yes.
have the plans.
We reviewed them, actually.
Yeah, but I have a question too, because first of all, you got the wrong email from the husband. We just got the, today, because we.
Okay.
was going to.
We can, you can call me tomorrow, we can discuss it.
Okay, yeah. I'm good with that. Wondering about it.
But you're recommending we waive site plan?
For this project, yes.
Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, no, I have no issue with that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I move we waive.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I move we adjourn.
Are we done?
Is there?
Do we have any
Valerie,
AHRB?
Valerie, this was noticed for AHRB as well, too, right? For patios?
Restoration.
Yeah, but,
Dan didn't think it needed a.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh, because it matched existing.
right.
Yeah.
Never mind. All right. It's late.
Let's adjourn.
Yes.
Yeah.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right, yeah, good luck.
I bet.
We just can't shorten these things up.